The lake was silent, but Karen's voice could have woken a coma patient. "You're breaking every rule in the book. You hillbilly!" she shrieked, her floral dress flapping like a warning flag as she stormed toward my half-built cabin. I stood there, hammer in hand, watching her waddle across the shoreline, her face twisted into that signature HOA snarl. This was my land, every inch of it, but Karen didn't care. She never did. I'd moved to Lake Serenity to escape the noise of the city, to build a quiet life on the plot my grandfather left me. The deed was clear. I owned the lake, the shoreline, and the surrounding acres. No HOA, no restrictions, just freedom. But Karen, the self-appointed queen of the nearby Pine Grove estates, had other ideas. She'd been hounding me since the day I broke ground, claiming my cabin violated her precious community aesthetic. Aesthetic. The woman's house looked like a flamingo threw up on a McMansion. "Karen, I've got the deed," I said, keeping my voice steady as I leaned against a stack of lumber. "This is my property." "Your property," she spat, her chins quivering with indignation. "This lake is a community treasure. You can't just build some shack and ruin it." She gestured wildly at my cabin, a sturdy frame of cedar and pine that was starting to look like home. Her eyes narrowed, and she pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police. You'll be out of here by sundown." I sighed, wiping sweat from my brow. The two workers I'd hired, Miguel and Jake, exchanged glances. They'd dealt with Karens before, but this one was a Category 5. "Lady, we're just doing our job," Miguel said, his voice tight. "He's got permits." "Permits?" Karen scoffed, already dialing. "I'm on the HOA board. I am the permits." Her smugness was palpable, like she'd just won a war by pressing call. I could have laughed if I wasn't so annoyed. This wasn't her jurisdiction, and she was about to learn that the hard way. The police arrived 20 minutes later, a single cruiser kicking up dust along the dirt road. Officer Daniels, a lanky guy with a tired expression, stepped out, notepad in hand. Karen launched into her tirade before he could even speak. "This man is building an illegal structure," she declared, pointing at me like I was a fugitive. "It's an eyesore. It's unsafe. And it's lowering property values." Daniels raised an eyebrow, glancing at my cabin. "Sir, you got permits for this?" he asked, his tone neutral. I nodded, pulling a folder from my truck. "Permits. Deed. Survey, everything. This land's been in my family for 3 generations. I own the lake and the shoreline. No HOA here." Karen's face turned the color of a ripe tomato. "That's impossible," she snapped. "The lake belongs to the community." Daniels skimmed the documents, his brow furrowing. "Ma'am, these look legit. This property isn't under your HOA's jurisdiction." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. But the community depends on this lake. We fish here. We boat here. He can't just claim it." "Actually," I said, leaning forward, "I can. And I have." I pointed to the survey map, which clearly outlined my property lines, every inch of the lake and shoreline included. Karen's eyes bulged, and for a moment, I thought she might explode. "This is outrageous," she yelled, turning to Daniels. "Arrest him. He's stealing our lake." Daniels sighed, clearly done with her theatrics. "Ma'am, there's no crime here. He's within his rights. You need to take this up in civil court if you disagree." Karen wasn't having it. She stormed closer, her finger jabbing the air. You're all in on it, aren't you? Corrupt cops, corrupt builders, corrupt hippies. She turned to me, her voice dripping with venom. You think you can just waltz in here and ruin our community? I'll have this place condemned. That's when Miguel snapped. Lady, you're the one ruining everything. We're just trying to work. His voice carried the frustration of every worker who'd ever dealt with an entitled busybody. Jake nodded, muttering something about typical Karen nonsense. Karen wheeled on them, her face a mask of fury. Don't you dare talk to me like that. I'll have your jobs. Good luck with that, I said, crossing my arms. They work for me, not you. The argument escalated, Karen's voice rising to a pitch that could have shattered glass. She ranted about property values, community standards, and how my cabin was an assault on decency. Daniels tried to calm her down, but she was a runaway train. Finally, she made her fatal mistake. I'm reporting you all to the state, she screamed, pulling out her phone again. And I'm posting this on Nextdoor. The whole neighborhood will know what kind of trash you are. That's when I decided to end it. Karen, I said, my voice calm but firm. You might want to check the county records before you waste anyone else's time. My grandfather's deed predates your HOA by 50 years. You have no claim here. None. She froze, her phone still clutched in her hand. For the first time, doubt flickered across her face. You're lying, she whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. Check it yourself, I said, gesturing to Daniels. Or ask him to. Public records don't lie. Daniels nodded. I can confirm it at the station. But these documents are solid. Ma'am, you're fighting a losing battle. Karen's bravado crumbled. She stood there, her shoulders slumping, the fight draining out of her like air from a punctured tire. The workers went back to hammering, the sound echoing across the lake like a victory march. Daniels tipped his hat to me and headed back to his cruiser. But Karen wasn't done, not quite. You'll regret this, she muttered, her voice low and venomous. This isn't over. I shrugged. It is for me. Over the next week, Karen tried everything. She posted rants on Nextdoor, claiming I was a land-grabbing tyrant. She called every agency she could think off-county planning, environmental protection, even the Fish and Wildlife Service. Each time, she was met with the same response. My deed was ironclad. The lake was mine, and so was the shoreline. Her HOA had no power here. But Karen's obsession only grew. She started showing up daily, taking pictures of my cabin, muttering about violations. One evening, I caught her sneaking onto my property, trying to plant a no trespassing sign on my land. I confronted her, phone in hand, recording the whole thing. Karen, you're trespassing, I said, keeping my distance. Leave now, or I'm calling Daniels. Her eyes widened, but she didn't back down. This is for the community, she insisted, hammering the sign into the dirt. You don't deserve this lake. I dialed Daniels. He arrived faster than last time, his patience clearly worn thin. Ma'am, you're on private property, he said, his voice stern. You need to leave, or I'll arrest you for trespassing. Karen's face crumpled, but she didn't move. This is unjust, she wailed. He's stealing our lake. Daniels didn't hesitate. He cuffed her, reading her rights as she sputtered in disbelief. The workers stopped to watch, barely hiding their grins. As Daniels led her to the cruiser, Karen's rants echoed across the lake, a fading symphony of entitlement. The fallout was swift. Karen's next-door posts backfired, with neighbors calling her out for harassment. Her HOA board quietly distanced themselves, unwilling to back her baseless crusade. Word spread that she'd been fined for trespassing, and rumors swirled that her husband was fed up with her antics. By the time my cabin was finished, Karen had become a cautionary tale in Pine Grovia living lesson in picking the wrong fight. I sat on my porch one evening, the lake shimmering under the stars. The cabin was everything I'd dreamed, simple, sturdy, mine. I thought about Karen, about her smug certainty and her downfall. She'd assumed the world bent to her will, that her rules trumped everyone else's. But the lake didn't care about her HOA or her tantrums. It was mine, always had been. Sometimes, justice isn't loud or flashy. Sometimes, it's just a quiet lake, a solid deed, and the truth catching up to someone who thought they could bully their way to victory. Karen learned that the hard way.